Thank you. Thank you for that warm welcome. Yeah. So I'm giving 2 talks this year, and this is one of them. The next one is tomorrow. Just filling in. I just found all this out myself. No, that's the plan. But they're 2 different talks. I just want to stress that. Today I want to talk about a book I wrote called Lessons from Lucy. And it's sort of a departure for me. I mean it to be a humor book, but it's also a little bit of a self-help book, and I am not known for that. Usually when people read my books, the reaction is, well, that didn't help me at all. Or I'm actually stupider for having read that book, you know. But anyway, so the story of how I wrote this book, I wrote it 5 years ago. I turned 70, turned 75 years ago. Which means I'm now 75, which is the new 73. Or here in Rancho, jailbait. So, yeah. Yesterday when I got here, first person I ran into when I got here last night was James Carville. And I've known him for years, and we got to talking. And we shared that we were both getting older. And he's 78, and I said, I'm 75. And he goes, well, let me tell you something. I learned this through his interpreter, which he said. He said, let me tell you something. It don't get any better. So that was the encouraging word from James Carville. But so anyway, there's some good things about getting old, I think. One is you get a sense of perspective. Like when I read a story or hear somebody saying, you know, if we don't take better care of the planet, it's going to be uninhabitable in 25 years. If I heard that when I was younger, I'd be like, oh my God, that's terrible, you know. And now it's like 25 years. I can live with that, you know. So that's one good thing. Another is grandchildren. I assume many of you have grandchildren. I have 2 grandchildren, and they're great. It's fun. They like to play. So that's the good news. The bad news is where they like to play, which is the floor. When you're 75, the floor is like North Korea. You don't just go there on the spur of the moment, you know. Like, how the hell are you going to get back, you know? So that's not good. Everything else about getting old, I think, sucks. I think we can all agree. Terrible things happen to your memory. For me, it's the nouns, mainly the proper nouns. I still have the adjectives, the articles, the prepositions. The nouns are gone. It turns out, for a lot of sentences, you need nouns. You know. So I'll be making some point, and I'll get to a name, and I'll go, you know, and even that's hurt because you have arthritis, and you know the guy. The guy in the place with the thing. And then it starts a game of charades. And then 15 minutes later, they figure out that you mean Hitler. But by then, you can't remember what you were trying to say about Hitler. So that sucks. And medical, I don't want to get too far into the medical angle, but it just gets worse and worse. I don't care what we do about medical care in this country, but we need, for the medical profession, to find a way to get to the prostate gland other than the way they're getting to it now. People say, well, what do you want? I'll tell you what men want. We want a procedure where the doctor stands 85 yards away and goes, looks good from here, Dave. So that's, and then there's, the other one is the medical one. And if you watch television, you're bombarded with this. The TV commercials aimed strictly at you, older person. And it always starts with like, do you sometimes feel bad? You may be one of the 17 Americans who suffer from parabuccal dystabulation of the frenulum. Ask your doctor about that. Like, ask your doctor. Have you tried to talk to a doctor? Why not ask the Pope? Ask Beyonce. That's just as easy. And then they tell you about, side effects. After you're convinced you need the drug and you need to talk to your doctor about, then they tell you, like, one man died. Another man turned into a raccoon. Pregnant women should not even be watching this commercial right now. Anyway, so that sucks. Also, another bad thing, the letters you get from ARP. ARP is, of course, the last sound you make before you die. ARP! Doctor, he's ARPing over here. Yeah. But also, it's an abbreviation for the American Association of Retired People standing in line ahead of you asking for a discount on every freaking thing. And I have nothing against ARP. It's a wonderful organization. I have a problem with my being asked to join it because I'm a baby boomer. And the key to the baby boomer demographic is no matter how old and pathetic and wretched and senile and drooling and incontinent we get, we think we're cool. We still think we're cool. So I have a problem with being asked to join this organization with these guys. And I live in Miami, so I see these guys all the time wear their waistbands up around their armpits. Apparently so, if you ever need open heart surgery, they can just unzip the fly, But anyway, ARP has this. I get all the stuff from ARP, and they don't like any of the things I've been saying to you now. They do not like the suggestion that there's anything bad about getting older, or that any of the stereotypes of older people are valid. They get very upset about stereotyping. I got an email from them that said, "Enough with the Dottie driver and goofy grandma memes." Let's start with driving. I live in Miami. I moved there in 1986 from the United States. And we have a lot of older drivers in Florida, and we don't drive as well. I'm one of them. And I'll give you this is a true story, but I could give you many from the Miami Herald. We regularly have stories like this, but this one was maybe the worst. The police stopped a 72-year-old man driving a Chevrolet Cobalt, which in itself is not that any big deal. Stop 72 driving a Chevrolet Cobalt. It's where they stopped him. And I'm not making this up. Runway 9, Miami International Airport. This man burst through a perimeter gate without realizing it, and was on the runway when to me that shows a lack of awareness on the. I don't know. If I'm driving and I realize I'm tailgating a 757, I'm like. So I'm not on the expressway anymore, So anyway, and here's another quote from ARP. "Age isn't a punchline. It's about growth. You aren't too old for anything." That's not true. There's a reason they stopped letting pilots be pilots at age 65. I'm sure a lot of them were fine at age 65, but when they're 75, 85, they're too old to be. You don't want to have an 85-year-old pilot. This is your captain speaking. We reached our cruising out. Nope, sorry, we're still on the runway here. We're behind a Chevrolet Cobalt out here on the runway. Now, the truth is, age does bring limitations, and the truth is, one of the stereotypes about us, besides that we don't drive as well, we are not as good with technology. There's nothing ARP is very upset about. But we're not. We're not as good as, old people are not as good at technology as young people. When I go on tour for book tour, a lot of times people want to take your picture, which is nice, it's sweet, it's lovely. And they have their camera, their phone, and they want to take a picture. And I have noticed there's a big difference the way young people take a picture with a phone and the way old people take a picture. Here's how young people take a picture with a phone. That's a little longer than most of them take, but that's how they do it. Here's how older people take pictures with a phone. Okay, smile. Okay, smile. Okay. Oh, no, wait, it's on Google. Okay, right. Okay, smile. Okay. No, wait, it's taking a video. Okay, smile. Oh, it took a picture of me. Then they give it to a young person who goes, and so it's all them. So anyway, my point is, getting old sucks. And when I turned 70, I started thinking about getting old. And I was not really, it was a serious moment in my life, and I was just not happy with the way I was feeling, the way when you sort of assess how you're doing. And I was thinking that at the same time I'm turning 70, my dog Lucy was 10, so if you do the 7-year thing, she was turning 70 in dog years, and she seemed to be doing much better than I was. She's handling it fine, and I decided the premise of the book was to look at things dogs do, particularly in my case, my dog Lucy, and see what it was why was she happier than I was? Why was she able, it just didn't bother her at all that she's getting, if you ever had a dog, they don't seem to notice. Why was that? And could I adopt the behaviors she uses to keep happy as she gets older, which is why I started drinking from the toilet. No. I didn't start drinking from the toilet. But I would if it worked. We all would. Anyway, no, so this is the premise of the book. What can you learn from your dog? And I would start by saying, I'm not saying dogs are smart. They're not. Dogs are not. I have made a whole career. I've always had dogs, out writing about dogs. And the point of these columns has never been that dogs are smart. Dogs are the opposite of smart in many ways, which is why I wrote about them. I had 2 dogs for many years before Lucy. I had a large Maine dog named Ernest and a small emergency backup dog named Zippy. No, you need 2 dogs in Florida in case your Maine dog goes down in the hurricane. So I wrote a lot of columns about Ernest and Zippy. They were with me all the time at an office, and typically in the day, I would work in an office with the door closed, but for reasons I don't to this day know why, Ernest and Zippy would always sleep by the door, but on opposite sides of the door. So I'm in the office writing, and there's a door closed, and Ernest is on one side, Zippy's on the other side. One is in, one is out. And it's quiet, and I'm just tapping away. And then every now and then, the dog satellite would go over. If you've ever had a dog, you're familiar with the dog satellite. Your dog is lying there. There is nothing happening. No noise, nothing, nobody, anything. And your dog goes, woof! For no apparent reason. That's the dog satellite going over. And only dogs can hear it. Although I think President Biden hears it sometimes. You know what I mean? You ever see him when he's giving a speech and then... I think he's hearing it. So anyway, I'd be in my office, and Ernest and Zippy are on either side of the door, and the dog satellite would go over, and one of them would hear it, usually the inside dog, would go, woof! So the outside dog is now alerted that something's going on and would go woof because there's something going on. And the inside dog, which had already forgotten that it was the first woof, would hear the outside dog go woof. And it would be escalating woof, 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 woof. And they're both barking, and then I have to get up and open the door, and they would switch positions and go back to sleep. Right? Until the next time the satellite would go. I would do that 5-6 times a day. That's not intelligent behavior, is it? But that's what dogs do. Another example involving the same 2 dogs. This happened during we had hurricane season, which runs from June through the following June. And in 1992, Hurricane Andrew passed directly over what was my house. Bad hurricane. And it really wasn't nothing funny about that hurricane, except in the aftermath, Ernest and Zippy. At the time of Hurricane Andrew, I would let them out every morning via a two-stage procedure. And if you've ever had a dog, you know that going out in the morning is a very big deal to the dog. Dog gets very excited. Dog can't believe you thought of it. You know, even though you do it every day. Whoa, that's a great idea. We'll go out. You know, get very excited. And in this case, it was a two-stage procedure. I opened the back door, and then we had a patio with a screen enclosure, which you need in South Florida to keep the mosquitoes from stealing your patio furniture. And I would open the back door, and Ernest and Zippy would run across the patio to the screen door and wait for me there. And I'd open the screen door, and they'd run out into the yard. Very excited. Every day for years, back door, screen door, yard. They learned that the way dogs learn a procedure. So anyway, comes Hurricane Andrew, and the screen enclosure is orbiting the Earth. He's gone. But the screen door was still there. So I see some of you are dog owners, you know. Just a door with nothing around it but yard. It was about a 2-week learning curve. During which time I'd open the back door, and Ernest and Zippy would run to the screen door, which has nothing around it, and wait. Because that was the procedure. This is why I believe the least realistic television program ever made was Lassie. The premise of Lassie was that there was this brilliant collie dog, Lassie, living on this farm with this unbelievably stupid farm family. These people were so stupid they never left the kitchen. They spent every episode looking out the window going, how come all the neighbors have crops? And it's a good thing they didn't go out, because whenever they did, they got in some life-threatening danger. Especially the little boy, little Jeff, who later became little Timmy, and they didn't even notice that. That's how stupid these people were. He would fall into the quicksand. Every week he's in the quicksand. Who the hell buys a farm with that much quicksand on it? So typical, really every episode of Lassie, same plot. Jeff/Timmy, he's either falling down a well or he's sinking in the quicksand, some dumb idiot thing. And Lassie goes raking back to the farmhouse, barking, whimpering, scratching on the screen door, obviously very agitated. This happens every single episode of Lassie. A family of normal intelligence would figure this out eventually and say, ha, little morons in the quicksand again, isn't he? But not the Lassie family. They go, what's wrong, girl? Are you hungry? Now, a real dog would go, yeah. I'm hungry. I'm always hungry. She'd come in, she'd eat, spend the rest of the evening licking herself. She'd forget all about Jeff/Timmy. Tune in next week, they get a new little boy named Bobby. Then Lassie would make them go rescue him, and they'd come back to the house. Everybody'd be sitting around the kitchen table. Lassie's in the corner filling out the agricultural subsidy forms. But that's not really how dogs are. That's my point. Dogs are more like Ernest and Zippy. They're not brilliant. But the idea that I came up with is they do certain things that make them happy, or they don't do certain things that wouldn't make them happy. Both of those things are important. You'll never see a dog wear spike heels or invest in crypto. Ooh, can I not say that here? Anyway, no. Basically, they have a certain wisdom about them, a certain common sense, and so the book is a series of lessons that I learned from this. I'm not going to go through them all. And I will say this, they're mostly just common sense. It's not stuff you don't know. It's stuff you've known all your life. Most of us have. It's just at some point you stop doing them. And dogs don't. They just keep doing them. And they're like simple things. One of them is make friends and keep friends if you have them. And dogs are very good at that. Lucy, anyway. Everybody she meets, she loves. Everybody in our neighborhood knows who she is. Anytime anybody comes to the door, she is so happy to see that person. She would go home with that person that person wanted to. She just loves everyone, and everyone loves her. She goes around, and people wave to her and call out to her and so on. I don't have that many friends. Like, I think it's the thing, it happens when you get older. I have like 4 friends left, and I'm not sure they're all still alive. Because we don't really keep in touch, you know what I mean? And I don't want to make any more friends. I have enough friends, and I don't like them that much, you know. But I realized that was a mistake, and I think it's much more true of men, I think, than of women. My wife still has lots and lots of friends and makes friends easily, but I became more and more and more isolated, and I realized that when I was writing this book. And I think it's a problem men have with opening up and communicating. Like, my wife she's very good at that. If, you know, she can see somebody, a friend, they can be apart for a half an hour, come back and see each other again, and they can talk about that half hour for 3 hours. That's not a problem for them. I have trouble doing it, but I forced myself, when I wrote this book, made a list of friends that I have not been in touch with, and started calling them up, which, ask any guy in this room, is just a weird thing for guys to do. It's difficult to do. Call them up for no reason but to talk. And I was really happy I did. I would talk to guys I have not talked to in like 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, and talk. And we'd be all caught up in like 2 minutes. And then we would switch over to sports, because that's something we can talk about. But anyway, I made an effort to, and it was good. And I've done that to this day. I have a little list of people I'm supposed to call, and I keep calling them. Another lesson, which is, I think, one of the more important ones, and as you get older, it's don't stop having fun. Keep having fun. And when I say fun, I don't mean senior fun. You know, like senior fun, you see the ads aimed at us, and they always show seniors having fun, but really what that means is they're grinning. It's a bunch of old people standing around grinning. I'm never clear why. There's no bong visible or anything. You know, like, they're at a golf course grinning. They're like, you know, an aerobics class grinning, but they're not really having fun. The kind of fun you used to have. Just crazy fun, stupid fun, weird fun. Fun where you woke up in a different state naked, okay? We don't have that kind of fun anymore. But because you start thinking, I'm too old for that. And I found myself saying that over and over. Oh, I'm too old for that. I'm too old for that. And I wouldn't do things that I used to do, and I'm too old for that. And so I have made a conscious effort to go back to doing things that I found to be fun that I kind of stopped doing because I was too old for them. In my case, the big example was a band I'm in called the Rock Bottom Remainders. It's a band of authors. And it's a lot of good authors in the band. Stephen King is in it, Amy Tan, Scott Turow, Roy Blunt Jr., Greg Iles, some of the people who've been here in this band. But we're not a good band, I want to stress that. Our genre, Roy Blunt Jr. described as hard listening music. We play by what I call it the rumor method of music, which is everybody's holding an instrument and playing something, and then a rumor goes around the band that there's been a chord change, you know. Whoa, and everybody switches to a new chord, not necessarily the same new chord, but so we're not a good band, but we have fun. We have a tremendous amount of fun, but we kind of stopped playing for a while. And when I was writing Lessons from Lucy, I wrote everybody in the band, said we have to get together again. We have to start playing again. And most of them came back and did, and then we've sort of stuck with it, and it's been fun. It isn't always positive in some ways. I'll give you the corollary lesson to like certain bands. We are told the system, the technique they use is they rehearse the songs ahead of time. But we're busy authors, so we don't really have time. So we'll just typically play a gig, and then when it's over, we go, boy, we should have rehearsed those songs. But by then it's too late, so we just go to the bar. So anyway, not too long ago, we're playing a gig, and if the gig's over, and we're in New York City, we go back to the hotel, and we're at the hotel bar. And it was one of those times where, through absolutely no fault of my own, I had too many vodka gimlets. And I was sitting in between two of my favorite people in the band. Roy Blunt Jr. is one of the funniest people I've ever known. And Scott Turow is one of the smartest people I've ever known. Both really fascinating people. And I'm sitting between them drinking vodka gimlets and kind of trying to follow both of them in conversation. And Roy's just telling funny stories. And Scott is telling a very long and complicated story about his spleen. And I'm trying to keep up with both while drinking, and again, not my fault, too many vodka gimlets. And I keep interrupting Scott. The result of this, I keep interrupting Scott, as you may do if you've had too many vodka, and saying things like, but I thought you didn't have a spleen. And Scott would patiently say to me, that's right. That's what the whole point of the story. I don't have a spleen. But I did it like too many times. I would get confused because the way he was telling the story, it sounded like he did have it. You know those people who sound like they have a spleen when they don't? You know what I mean? And finally, Scott, who is a really nice man, got tired of this and pulled up my shirt sleeve and got a Sharpie and wrote on my forearm, "No spleen." Which solved the immediate problem. So that night, we leave the bar, we all go to bed. Not together. We're not having that much fun. And then we had to get up early the next morning to get a train to Boston. We're going to play another show in Boston. So I get up in the morning and I have no memory of the night before. And really, and I'm staggering to the bathroom and I catch sight of myself in the mirror and I see there's something written on my arm. And I look down and it says, "No spleen." And I have no memory of how those words got there. So do you know that urban legend? A salesman, he's in a hotel, an attractive woman picks him up. She slips something into his drink. He wakes up the next morning in the bathtub, packed in ice, and there's a note on his chest and it says, "We have harvested your kidney. Here's what you need to do." It was like an urban legend that went around. Well, just for a horrible few seconds there, in this hotel in New York, I'm thinking, oh my God, they've harvested my spleen. But I don't know where to look, you know? I'm not. And then as my brain starts to reboot, I remember what happened. I'm thinking, that's stupid. Like, nobody would harvest your spleen. It's not a vital organ. That's the whole point of Scott's story. There, in like an organ harvesting circles, there's probably an expression, he's so stupid he'd harvest a spleen, you know? So anyway, the lesson is don't stop having fun. Do things that are fun even though you feel like you're too old to do them. But the corollary is don't go easy on the vodka gimlets, I would say. So another of the lessons is, and I'm going to, in a minute, ask for somebody from the audience to come assist me on this one. Another of the lessons is let go of your anger. Lucy's very good at that. Like, dogs get mad. They do. Like, every week, men come to our house and take away our garbage. And Lucy cannot understand how we allow that to happen. She's like, they're taking, your garbage. She gets very mad at these men taking away our garbage. But as soon as they're out of sight, she's fine, forgets all about it. Whereas I don't let go that easily. And the older I get, I find the more I tend to just hold on to things that piss me off, which is too many things. And they're often just little things. This is something that I have trouble with to this day, even though I wrote about it in the book and I'm trying very hard to deal with it. Like if you're in an ice cream place that has a lot of different ice creams, I'm sure they have them here in Rancho Mirage, and they give you those little spoons to try them. So it's a hot day, and there's a big line, okay, and there's maybe like one or two people behind the counter there. And you're in the line, if I'm 15 people back, and I'm watching you when you're up there at the front. And I'll let you get a couple of samples, okay, unless one of them's vanilla, in which case, fuck you. You don't need to sample vanilla. But like, you try one, and then you try another one, and then you share one with your friend, because you always have a friend doing this. And then can I try the first one again? I want to kill you. But anyway, it's ridiculous how angry that can make me. It's making me angry now, and I'm not even in an ice cream line at this moment. And it'll like put me in a bad mood the whole rest of the day. So, pathetic things like, or somebody will say something on the internet. Imagine somebody saying something stupid on the internet. Anyway, and I realized when I thought about it, I didn't used to get that angry about things, and I didn't used to hold on to it so long. And so I had to make this effort, and it's really a conscious effort to just calm down. Like, it doesn't matter how long this person takes. You're still going to get your ice cream, and who's going to, an hour from now, what difference will it make? So anyway, I've gotten better about it, but I have learned also to try to channel when I do have anger into something more productive. And for this particular example, I want to ask somebody to come up out of the audience. I'm going to ask you to just help me read a dramatic reading. It can be anybody, as long as you know how to read. Okay, first person to raise her hand. While she's coming up, I will explain the situation. Do you have a thing called Comcast here? Are you familiar with Comcast? Okay, well, as I say, I work at home, and one day I'm working at home, and suddenly my internet goes out. Come on up. What's your name? Lindsay, it's Lindsay. Ladies and gentlemen, please give Lindsay a hand. When the time comes, you're going to read the underlined stuff, okay? But first...
This is me?
The underlined?
Okay. I'm making Dave mad.
No, I'm good. Lindsay, can we get another No, Lynn, she's going to be great. So I'm just going to set it up a little bit more. Okay. And so the internet goes out, and a guy named Wilfredo, who does our yard every week, wonderful guy, comes knocking at my window and asks me to come out, and he's all apologetic, and he shows me there's a utility pole in the corner of our lot, and he has, while he was trimming some vines, sliced through the Comcast cable and the AT&T cable. So now we have no phone, and we have no wired phone, and no Comcast. And I said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So I get on my cell phone, and I call AT&T, and I say, the guy accidentally cut our wire. Can somebody come fix the wire? Yep, and they did. That was all it took. Then I called Comcast, and I really don't know what continent I reached. But the person at the other end was perfectly polite, maybe a little too polite, wanted to know my name so he could use it 43 times per sentence. And I said, the yard guy cut our cable. And so could you please send somebody to fix the wire? And the guy said, all right, David, we are very sorry, David, that your cable is not working, David. David, can you do me a favor, please? Can you tell me the serial number of the main cable box? And at this point, I'm still being patient. And I go, that really won't help because the wire has been cut. So there's no cable coming into the main cable box. The wire is cut. Oh, okay, David. David, would you do me a favor, David? Please unplug the main cable box and wait 1 minute and then plug it back in. Because he's going down his checklist. And I go, that's really not going to help. The cable wire's been cut. The TV programs aren't coming into the house. They're spilling out onto the lawn. You have to fix the wire. And he just keeps going with his checklist. And now I'm really getting really angry, okay? Because I can't get through, and I will admit here that I yelled at the man. And it really wasn't his fault. He is doing exactly what he was trained to do, and I was getting more and more pissed off. Anyway, finally they came and fixed it. But I was angry about that for a long time, and, did no good to yell at this man. And then really, if I should be angry at anybody, it's whoever designed the program where you're not allowed to simply communicate. He has to go down this little checklist. So anyway, I wrote this to channel my anger from that experience. And are you ready?
I'm ready.
Lindsay's going to help me now. I have a fantasy. In this fantasy, late one night, a cable executive calls 911, only to discover that as a cost-cutting measure, the police department has outsourced its 911 operation to the cable company.
Thank you for choosing 911. What is your emergency?
A man broke into my house. He has an axe.
May I have your name and address?
Bob Timmons, 123 Belchwater Road. Please hurry.
Thank you, Bob. Bob, I understand you were saying you have an intruder in your house.
Yes, with an axe. Please send somebody.
Bob, I am sorry that an intruder with an axe is in your house, and I will help you to resolve this problem.
Please hurry. He's coming up the stairs.
Bob, in order to assist you, I'm going to need to ask you some questions. Is that okay, Bob?
Yes, just hurry.
Bob, first, can you tell me, did you give permission for this intruder to enter your house? Bob?
No, for God's sake, he broke in with an axe.
Thank you, Bob. I understand. I understand you were saying that the intruder does not have your permission to be in your house at 123 Elkwater Road. Is that correct?
No, I'm at 123 Belchwater Road.
So, Bob, you're saying you are at 123 Belchwater Road.
Yes.
But the intruder is at 123 Elkwater Road, Bob.
No, he's here. He's breaking down the bedroom door. For the love of God, send help.
Bob, so that I can better assist you, can you please describe the axe?
In real life, the 911 operator would never be laughing this hard. I just want... On the executive's end of the line, there are shouts, sounds of a struggle, screams, and then silence. A new voice comes on the line. Who is this?
This is 911. Is this Bob?
No,
Do you have an emergency?
not anymore.
So the problem has been resolved.
Yes.
Would you be willing to take a brief customer satisfaction?
Ladies and gentlemen, Lindsay. I am. So anyway, that's sort of the premise of the book, and the lessons are all like that, except for the last one. And I'm gonna just briefly describe, because when people read this book, sometimes the last chapter comes as a bit of a shock. When I wrote the book, it was all just funny. It was supposed to be funny anyway. And then I was getting ready to go on a book tour to talk about the book in August. Well, I was going to go in September of 2018. And then on August 18th, 2018, my daughter Sophie, who was then 18 years old, woke up paralyzed. And I will try to get through this without, I get emotional. But she woke up paralyzed. We took her to the hospital right away. And she had what's called transverse myelitis, which is a rare autoimmune disorder where your body attacks your spinal cord. And the first thing they told us was that a third of the people recover, a third of the people have issues, and a third of the people never walk again. That was what they told us. And so for the next 40 days, while all her friends went off to college, when she was getting ready to go to Duke University as a freshman, she's lying in a hospital bed wondering if she'll ever walk again. So to set everybody's mind at ease, she did recover, and she got to Duke, and she finished with her class, and she's fine. But it was an ordeal, and when she was in the hospital, I called the publisher of my book, Simon & Schuster, and told my editor, Priscilla Payton, I'm sorry, but I can't go on book tour, and I may never be able to go out with this book. And I'm sorry, but And then when Sophie recovered, was recovering, I called Priscilla back and said, I would like to, I can go out with this book later when it's ready, but I need to write another chapter. I need to write one more lesson. And the last one isn't from Lucy, although it's a lesson she already knew. And that's the one that ends the book. And weirdly enough, considering the situation, the lesson is to be grateful. And the lesson specifically is be grateful for what you have, because it's probably more than you realize. And if you've ever had that situation, and most of us have had something like that, you realize when it's going on what really matters in your life. And it isn't most of the shit you think about most of the time. It isn't what some moron on the internet said, or what some idiot politician said, or it isn't whether your car's making a noise. None of that stuff really matters. What really matters is are the people around you okay? You're getting up in the morning. Do people love you? Do you love people? So that's what the last slide. And I say that only because if you do read the book, be prepared for a different ending than maybe you expect. It's not, anyway. So I see 4 minutes and 51 seconds left. So I could, if you would like, I'll take questions, although if you don't have any questions, I don't know, you can talk among yourselves. You can, or any problems you want to share with the group, we're here for you. No, does anybody have any questions? Yeah. She wants. All right, I'll tell this story quickly. This is my. I wrote a column about this. It's my favorite thing that ever happened in the history of the world. You can actually see it on the internet, on YouTube, if you don't believe me, but it really did happen. And it's actually been 50 years since this happened, but it's still the greatest thing that ever happened in the world. A dead whale washed up on the beach in Oregon, and it was a 42-foot long, 8-foot whale. 42 feet long, 8-ton whale, dead. Started to rot and stink. The weather was. There's a lesson with this one too. Now that I'm thinking of it. And anyway, it was a big problem. What to do about this big dead whale on the beach? Now, everything I'm about to tell you actually happened, and you can see it on YouTube if you would like. So they decided to dispose of this whale by bringing it in the Oregon State Highway Division, Oregon Highway Department. I know what the thinking was there. I guess a whale is a big thing, and a highway is also a big thing. So I figured it'd be a good skills mix there. So what you'll see on YouTube is a TV broadcast on Portland television by a then young reporter named Paul Lindman, who's still out in Portland. Paul is standing in front of this whale, big whale, seagulls walking around, and says, "You might say they had a whale of a problem here." And then he brings in the head of the Oregon State Highway Division crews, a serious man with a hard hat, to explain what they're going to do. This guy doesn't come right out and say they've never disposed of a dead whale before, but you begin to suspect that it might be the case when he reveals that the solution they've arrived at is to use dynamite. And sure enough, behind him, they are digging a hole under the whale, and they used a half a ton of dynamite under this whale. So anyway, he explains that the plan is they're going to blow up the whale. Whale will then be in little pieces. These pieces will then be eaten by the seagulls and other marine scavengers. And there you'll have it, a textbook whale disposal. So the next thing, they back the camera up behind a sand dune, about a quarter of a mile from the whale. So you're looking over the dune at the whale. And they've also backed up the spectators. And quite a large crowd showed up to see this, because let's be honest with ourselves. If you knew they were blowing up a dead whale anywhere on Rancho Mirage today, you would not be here, okay? So you're looking over and you hear a countdown, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, then huge explosion, huge cloud of smoke envelops the whale. You can't see the whale at all at this point. And then you hear some people cheering, going, yay! And then you hear a voice go, oh my God. And then a smear appears on the camera lens. And then it goes dark. Because what's happening now is gravity. Which apparently no one had told the Oregon State Highway Division about. Gravity is causing pieces of dead, rotting whale to come. And I've talked to people who were there that day, and they said it was just disgusting. pieces of whale coming down out of the sky all over the beach, all over the spectators and well beyond it. And some of these are really big pieces of dead rotting whale. And we know this because the next scene we see is in the parking lot where the cameraman has run with everybody else fleeing this goo from hell. And he finally gets his camera going again. And the first thing you see is a car whose entire roof has been caved in by what looks like a booger the size of a refrigerator. And wouldn't you like to listen in on the phone call to that insurance agent? You say your car was struck in a parking lot by a whale. Oh, a whale from the sky. Then the camera goes back out on the beach, and there where the whale had been is the whale. It's a different shape now, but there's a large amount of whale still there. What there's no longer any of on the beach is seagulls who are on their way to Alaska at this point. Anyway, so what life lesson do we learn from that story? I'll tell you what, if you have a problem in your life, big or small, personal or professional, you just can't solve it, can't figure out what to do, cast your mind back to that whale on that beach in Oregon, and remember this, whatever you do not ask the Oregon State Highway Division. Anyway, thank you all. I'm going to be talking tomorrow at 2. Bye.